Hello and welcome to Get Yourself Optimized. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, and today it's my pleasure to have Amberly Lago with us. Amberly is a peak performance coach, TEDx speaker, podcaster, and a leading expert in the field of resilience and transformation. She's also the best-selling author of True Grit and Grace and the founder of Unstoppable Life Mastermind. Amberly has most recently been featured on NBC's The Today Show, The Doctors, Hallmark, and featured in magazines such as Shape, Fit Pregnancy, Yahoo, Forbes, USA Today, LA Style, Health Magazine, Keynote Speaker Magazine, and Disability Magazine. Amberly, it's so great to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Stephan. It's so great to be here and be connected with you and get to share with your audience. So thank you for having me.
You bet. So I'd love to hear your take on resilience and how that is such a key aspect of your life and potentially our listeners.
Oh, boy. I feel like we all need that extra resilience about now, with what we've been going through over the last couple of years. And I think that we need to really strengthen and build our resilience before we actually need it, if that makes sense. Like to really
Yeah.
work on what is going to strengthen us mentally, physically, spiritually, in every way. So when something doesn't go as planned or, we get derailed, we can get back up and making action steps to move forward. And, I used to be caught up on resilience as being, you got to bounce back, you got to go back. And I really learned the hard way that resilience isn't really about bouncing back. And if you're listening right now and you're thinking, well, I just can't wait till things go back to normal, things may never go back to normal. And I think what we need to do is realize that we have the ability to move forward and choose to have a life of joy and thrive even when things don't go as planned. I was diagnosed with this nerve disease 12 years ago called complex regional pain syndrome. And I was told my life would never be the same, that I would be permanently disabled, that I would never work again, and that one doctor even told me I'd never walk again. And that was like being kicked in the gut. And I feel like, a lot of people feel like maybe they've been kicked around or even kicked in the gut lately. And I had to decide that, okay, yes, I've been diagnosed with this nerve disease, but that doesn't mean that I can't do things that I love, that I'm not going to be able to thrive, that I can, yes, I may have some pain, but I can also choose to build upon the joy and find joy in the journey. And we can all do that.
Mm. Beautifully said. And this thing about not bouncing back, but instead, it's almost like preemptive resilience. Toughening the skin in preparation for whatever life throws at us, because we are entering some tumultuous times. It's not just based on the past and especially the last couple of years, but it's really what we're heading into is it's a beautiful storm we're heading into, I feel. And this preemptive resilience will serve us. It will serve us greatly. And so when other people are kind of crumbling or crumpling to, with the challenges being thrown at us, you, with your preemptive resilience, can be ready for anything. Not that you're inviting it by showing up with a bulletproof vest on, saying, bring it to me, universe, because I need to use this brand new vest. But you're being um, more street smart, more savvy about how to live in this world that has its ups and downs. So I'm curious to hear, what chords were struck when I was just talking about this stuff.
Well, I think that it starts with working on our mindset. And I remember, I did this interview on the doctor's TV a couple of years ago. Gosh, it's been almost 3 years ago. And, when you do an interview on national TV, sometimes they cut the interview down into a small little section. And I had people coming out of the woodwork that were really upset with me because they cut out the part of the interview where I said I tried everything. Like I was trying everything to get out of pain. I did a spinal stimulator, spinal blocks, ketamine infusions. I had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses after I went
Wow.
through 34 surgeries. And they left in the part about we can get through pain with our mindset. And people were like, you can't cure pain with your mind. And I didn't say
Mm,
we could cure it. And I'm not saying that we can get rid of all of our problems with our mindset, but I'm saying right now that there are people out there that are going to get stuck in the fear and the doubt and the angst of everything. And then, or you can choose to go, you know what? I am going to work on my mindset. I am going to focus on what I can do. And let me tell you, gratitude, it may seem so simple, but gratitude will literally change the way you feel about your situation. And it works for me every single time. Anytime I have felt depressed or sad, or I get caught up in the comparison trap when scrolling on social media, or I'm upset that I can't walk the way that I would like to walk, I have a limp, on some days. I always go back to gratitude. Gratitude's alchemy. It really changes what you can't do into what you can do, and what you don't have into what you do have. And it really, I was in denial about a lot of stuff. I was in denial that I had this nerve disease. I was in denial about, I hated the way that I looked. I'm all scarred up from the hip down. And going from being a professional athlete, fitness trainer, sponsored by Nike, to now, I have this deformed leg and foot made of metal. It was hard to wrap my mind around. And it takes radical acceptance for where you are on your journey. So I think that we all have to take the blinders off. We have to really look at where we are in our life, and everything that we're doing is either moving us closer to our goal or further away. Everything we do, from the choices that we make every day, from our thoughts to our habits. And it can be hard to be motivated in a time where you feel like you're just getting knocked down again and again and over. But what you have to do is start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. I remember, you know um being in the hospital. I was hit by an SUV, and I woke up out of a coma and learned that I had a 1% chance of saving my leg from amputation. Now, I could have easily thought, 99% chance that I'm not going to be able to save my leg. I chose to focus on the 1%, on the 1% of, okay, there's still a chance. And I need to find a doctor who's willing to take that chance with me. And so it did. It took 34 surgeries to save it. And between every surgery, I worked on everything that I could do to get stronger and prepare for the next surgery. So I focused on my mind. What was I thinking? The minute I would look down at my leg and see it held together with rods and get in this pity party of, oh, tomorrow might be the day they're going to amputate it, I would think, I'm alive. I still have breath. I have my daughter. I've got my husband. I've got friends and family that are coming to see me. I have an amazing team of doctors that are helping me through this. Every time I was discouraged, I thought, well, what can I do? I had a friend of mine bring me 3-pound dumbbells, and I would work out even though I was stuck in the bed, I couldn't even stand up to use the bathroom on my own. I grabbed the 3-pound dumbbells, and I was doing bicep curls, shoulder presses, lateral raises, anything I could do to keep my upper body strong. But it's what it did for my mindset. It made me feel like I was moving in the right direction. And everything that I could do spiritually, man, I prayed, and I still do. I get on my knees. I start my day. I think it's so important to do things that really keep you grounded. For me, that is like that. You have to figure out what keeps you grounded. Like for me, staying grounded means um, praying every morning, last night we went for a walk. Actually, my daughter and I ran a little bit. I can't run the way I used to, but I can still run a little bit. And we live in this neighborhood now. We just moved to Texas, and there's a golf course in our neighborhood. And last night we got barefoot and we ran through the golf course, and just being in nature and getting your feet planted on the earth. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's just something that lifts the stress and anxiety away from you. So I think in these times when it's really hard and it may feel overwhelming, you have to figure out what grounds you. For me, it's praying and asking God to come in and help me through the day and walk beside me and speak through me. It's having a gratitude practice. And when I say practice, I practice it, and I practice it with other people. I have a group of ladies. We call our group the God Squad, and we text each other every single day 10 things we're grateful for. I get out in nature. And also, it's really important to never get too lonely, too hungry, or too tired, because that's when you make bad choices, you know? And so
Yeah.
that's when I want to think about doing things that aren't as healthy. So it's, yes, motivation is the spark, but discipline is the fire. And so you have to develop that discipline, that grit to keep moving forward. And it's something that you can strengthen every day from the smallest thing, from the moment you wake up. Look, this morning, my alarm went off at 5. I didn't want to get up at 5. In fact, I was so tired. My alarm was going off. I didn't even hear it at first. And my husband was like, your alarm's going off. Can you turn that off? And I was like, okay. And it was this, I was like, okay, I got to get up. I got to get up. And I was like, I want to go back to sleep. And I thought about why I wanted to get up. And the reason why I wanted to get up was I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to make an impact for people to never give up, to have that hope, to have that resilience. And so when I think about things other than myself, like, oh, I'm tired, oh, I'm achy, I'm sore, and I think about why I want to do it, it activates the energy, it activates the human spirit, and the human spirit is powerful beyond measure.
Yes, it is.
So that was a
Yes, it
long answer, wasn't it? Sorry.
is. Well, nothing to apologize for. I got so many different little nuggets from that, and I want to explore some of these. So one thing that um, kind of showed up for me while you were speaking, while you're talking specifically about the alarm clock going off this morning, is Mel Robbins has this 5 second rule, and it's essentially like a blast. It's essentially like a blast off of a rocket, right? So you're counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and by the count of one, you're up, right? You're just okay. I really don't want. I hear the alarm. I don't want to get up. I'm so tired. I didn't sleep well. All the excuses, but you've already started the clock. You've already started the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown. So you know that you're going to get off your on your feet by the count of one. So you just do it because that's what you do, and it works. Yeah, 'cause this is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so if that's how you get up in the morning, imagine how the rest of your day goes because you didn't hit the snooze.
Well, every
Oh,
time that you make that promise to yourself and you keep it, it builds your confidence.
yeah,
It builds the trust that you have in yourself. And so, if you can do something as simple as keeping the promise to yourself and getting up when you tell yourself, the night before, I prepare for the day ahead. And when you set your alarm, you're setting a tiny goal for yourself. And when you do that one thing, it does build the confidence that you can do more things. And when you tell yourself, okay, you get up, like I still have my workout clothes on. I have my workout clothes on because it is so important. It's a non negotiable for me to move my body because I know that moving your body moves your mood. If I remember years ago going to, when I got out of the hospital, I went to every doctor was like, you're going to need to be on antidepressants. Your life is basically screwed, and I'm like,
Oh,
okay, well, the antidepressants weren't working for me. They made me really sick. And I said, I know if I can move my body, I'll be okay. I was like, as long as I can move my body, they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, it makes me feel better mentally. And it's scientifically proven that it releases endorphins that combat pain, that reduce anxiety. Working out builds your confidence. And look, I used to go to the gym to work out because I, you know, shout, maybe this is shout, I wanted to look good. Now I go to the gym and work out because I know it's going to make me feel good. And a bonus is, gosh, I hope I look better than I did before. You know what I mean? But I think of like, I can't tell you, I don't know if you work out, but I can't tell you how many times I've actually driven to the gym, been in the parking lot and start scrolling through social media. And I have to have a talk with myself and go, Amberly, what are you doing? Just get in there. And I have learned to talk to myself instead of listen to myself. And what I mean by
mhm.
that is if I listen to myself, I can make up excuses. I can make up excuses of why I shouldn't work out. Maybe I'm too tired. I don't feel great. I'm having a rough day. I don't have time. Or I can talk to myself and tell myself, go in there and work out because you're not going to regret it. You're going to get stronger. It's going to allow you to chase after your daughter. It's going to build your confidence. It's going to reduce your pain, all the things that it's going to do. So I think it's so important to remember our why throughout the day, no matter what we're doing. It is we won't always be motivated, but if we remember our why and we have that discipline, we're going to be able to do the next goal and the next goal and accomplish the next thing and the next thing and achieve success.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember your why. Are you familiar with the TED talk about start with why in the book?
No, I've got to watch
Simon
that.
Sinek. Yeah. So Simon Sinek, it's one of the most watched TED talks.
Oh, I love
And
him. I can't believe I haven't seen that TED Talk.
yeah, so he
I'm
actually
writing
has a
it
book called
down.
Start with Why. Start with Why. Okay, so I want to get back to your gratitude practice. I love what you were saying about it's the God Squad that shares 10 things that you're grateful for every day with each other. Are you including things that you didn't want in your gratitude list, like things that um, weren't necessarily on your wish list, things that maybe are challenges or things you're struggling with?
That's such a great question. Yeah, I think that a lot of times, especially when we're really having a hard time, like it's really a dark place,
Mm,
it feels hard to be grateful for things. And I can tell you that if I can be stuck in a hospital, it was the first time I was ever away from my 2-year-old. I was after a coma. I was separated from her, had never been away from her. And then I was in ICU and they wouldn't allow children in. And I was stuck in the bed, um, not knowing what tomorrow would bring. There was so much uncertainty. I was really fighting every day just to keep my leg and to, fight any infection. And thinking about what, things like, is my husband going to love me? Am I going to be able to work? Am I going to be able to walk? Am I going to be able to chase after my kids? All these things, I was spiraling down into depression. And if I'm able
mm,
to find things to be grateful for in that moment, I know that you can find things to be grateful no matter what you're going through. But sometimes when we're in these situations and I'm guilty of it, where I was thinking, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why this can't be my life? Why was I diagnosed with this disease? How can I have this lien on my house? Oh my gosh, how am I going to pay all this debt off? What am I going to do? I don't have my job anymore. I was the main breadwinner and I was just like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? And again, I was asking the wrong questions because there was one time I was at home and I was in the hospital bed downstairs. Couldn't go up and down the stairs yet. And I was just sick from pain, throwing up, which really sucked when you have to throw up in a porta potty that's next to you. Not to get too graphic, but it was one of those days that was really hard. And I remember asking myself, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And then I heard my daughter's voice from upstairs. She said, Mama. And I knew at that moment I was asking the wrong questions. And I had to remember why I was going to get through it. I was going to get through it so I could show her what a resilient mom looked like. And gratitude helped me get the right mindset around that. And it's going through all of these challenges has taught me that even though there are times where we think that there can't be anything possibly good that could come out of this situation. I mean, I've had people ask me, do you would you change it? Would you change the fact that you were hit by this SUV on your motorcycle? And no, I wouldn't change anything because it's made me into the person that I am today. It's made my daughters, and everything is a ripple effect. It's changed their life
Yeah.
in the best way possible. My oldest daughter, I'm so grateful for. She's studying medicine. She decided to go into medicine, and I said, "Why did you want to go to medical school?" She said, "Mom, it was because of you, seeing you go through all those surgeries and you having this incurable nerve disease. I want to learn more. I want to make a difference." My youngest daughter, she got an award at school. They give out awards for best school attendance, most talented, blah, blah, blah. And she got an award for most empathy, which just made my
Mm.
heart sing because she has seen me from as long as she can remember, and has learned. I've had to learn to have compassion for myself, but she's learned compassion, empathy, gratitude. And so I wouldn't change those things. And so, yes, now I am grateful for challenges because I learned the best lessons in those challenges. And let me tell you, they suck in the moment. They are awful in the moment. And I mean, I'm talking about anything from, when we first moved here to Dallas, the internet was horrible. And I thought, I was freaking out. What am I going to do? The whole only reason we moved here is because all of my work is usually online and I have no internet.
Hmm.
And I was freaking out. And boy, did I learn. Again, sometimes we learn these lessons. Focus on what you can control and let go of the rest and surrender and let it flow. Like, you can take action steps to make a situation better. But if there are things that, like, you are not going to be able to change it, you got to figure something else out. And so luckily I did figure it out, and I'm glad I'm here with you today. But I think that it's important to be grateful for those situations and look for the lessons that it's teaching us. I can be so annoyed with the pace here, how much slower it is, and I'm like, well, it's teaching me patience. I'm grateful it's teaching me
Yeah.
patience. I'm grateful it's teaching me that maybe I should slow down a little bit. Like, there's always a lesson or a blessing,
Yeah. Or both.
or both. Yeah.
Well, I just recently learned this from a rabbi. I was at his house for Friday night Shabbat dinner with my wife and son, our 2-year-old, and one of the things he said on the way, taking us out to say goodnight after dinner was, blessings are uh, e- essentially ever present. Like, everything is a blessing, and it's just a question of whether the blessing has been revealed or not. So if you want more kind of the obvious blessings that we would equate as blessings, then pray for revealed blessings,
Mm.
because all the unrevealed blessings we think of as like these are the hardships and the challenges. But what if we actually our soul chose those before we even incarnated? And like, okay, I'm in for that one. Yep, give me that one too. Oh yeah, though that's going to be a tough one at the time, but yeah, I'll take that one as well. Right? It was like a smorgasbord of amazing blessings that look like I'm not going to swear on the podcast, but an sh bleep bleep sandwich at the time,
Yeah.
right? So it's uh it's hard to see it sometimes when you're going through it, as you said.
Hmm.
But yeah, changing it after the fact, after you see even a glimpse of what it's made you and how it's shaped you, like it's not even a question. Like, no, I'm not going to change that.
Well, I
So
love that.
yeah.
I love learning lessons from wise people. I just got back from Denver. I was speaking at this event, and I get to the airport, and you go through TSA, and I'm zipping up my boots, and I stand up, and right in front of my face is this monk. He's probably like 85 years old, and he's smiling at me, and he says, "Can you help me?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. How can I help you?" And it was 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd already dropped off my rental car, and they told me my flight was canceled. So I knew it was going to be a long day. They scheduled me for another flight that was like 12 hours away. So I look
Mm.
at this monk. He's like, "I can't find my flight." And he shows me the picture on his phone. And I said, "Oh," I said, "that was the flight I was on to Dallas, and that flight's been canceled. Did you get on you're going to have to get another flight?" He said, "Can you help me find some?" I said, "Yeah." So it's, early. I walk with him all through the airport. We could not find an American Airlines agent to help us. Like, no, there were no one. It was at the counter for American. It was great. No one was there. So I'm walking through the airport back and forth, and I look at the monk, and I said, "I am so sorry. I'm walking you all through the airport, and we can't find anyone." He goes, "Oh no, it's okay." He goes, "I walk 1 hour every day, and I didn't get to walk this morning. So this is a nice walk with you." Like, he just had this attitude of like flipping it all. Like, what was good out of that situation? We got to walk together. Then we're walking some
Yep.
more, and he's talking to me about meditation, being in the moment, and finding the good. And if you would have thought about the situation, we finally found someone at TSA who walked him downstairs and got him, I guess, another flight. The point of the story is, if you would have thought about it like, you would have thought I was maybe helping this monk find another flight. He helped me remember that I could have been upset and angry and frustrated that my flight was canceled and I was stuck at the airport. Instead, it got me focused on, wow, I had a nice walk. Oh, I can be in the moment. Instead of looking down at my phone, I looked
Mm.
up, and I was looking around me, and I find this door. There's no, and it was like, a sign. It was like a new opening sign, but it wasn't even like a sign of a restaurant or anything like that. It was just like, I was like, what does that door lead to? Because I was like open and present and in a good place, I opened the door. It was a brand new lounge. Beautiful. I walk into the lady. I said, "How do I get to be in here?" She goes, "Well, you just need an American Express Business Platinum card." I just got my Business Platinum card the week before. I said, "Well, I happen to have that card." She goes, "Well, then you can hang out here all day." I got to be in a lounge. I set up shop. I created all the content for 12 newsletters, a new landing page, and I was just so happy. And it was like I could have taken that moment and been bitter and upset that my flight was canceled. Instead, I met a monk, went for a walk, got to be in a lounge, and got to get a lot of work done. It's like we can shift our perspective so quickly if we hunt for the good, if we look for the blessing, and if we really focus on
Mhm.
what we're grateful for.
Yep. And wouldn't it be amazing if that um, that interaction you had with the monk was predestined? It was meant to be. It was, as they say in Islam, it is written, and maktub is the Arabic word for that. Maktub. So I learned this from the book The Alchemist, which is sold 150 million copies. And
Do you know I have that
was
book and
written
I've got it
exactly.
on my uh I haven't read it yet. I've got to read it. I'm writing that
Yeah.
down.
Well, this is a sign from the universe.
Yeah. I believe
Nothing is
in
a
those
coincidence.
signs and I believe in those God winks. Can I have to tell you
Yep.
something like that happened yesterday?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Um so anyway, I had just interviewed Erin King. I don't Do you know Erin King? She's an amazing speaker.
No.
I love her. She's one of my We've become really good friends, but she's got a book out called You're Kind of a Big Deal. And she's a big deal. She's awesome. She's just so amazing. But I was interviewing her for my podcast and she kept repeating this one phrase, find joy for the journey. And I stopped her and I was like, Erin, I was like, you know, you keep saying something. And I was like, I have a sticky note and it's right here. And it says, find joy for the journey. I said, it's been a book idea of mine for about a year. And it's something I've been wanting to do. And I just feel like she goes, well, I never have even said that before. So I think that she goes, I just got goosebumps. I think it's a sign that you do need to
Yeah.
you need to write that book, Find Joy for the Journey. And so I was like, okay, it's a sign. It's a sign. The very next day,
Yeah.
yesterday.
By the way, I just got the goosebumps too. So
Did you? Oh my
it's the double
goodness.
sign. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh my
On
gosh.
on
Thank you for
and
sharing that with
I'm
me.
pretty plugged in too. Yeah.
That is,
By the way, they're not goosebumps. They're angel bumps.
I
The
love
angels are sending
that.
confirmation.
I'm going to start calling
Yeah.
them angel bumps now. Well,
Yeah.
yesterday, my daughter and I went to Petco, and there's this brand new store open next to it. And I said, wonder what that is. Let's go in there. And we go into this store, and it's like the cutest store. It's like a kind of like a 99-cent store on steroids. It's like, got better stuff than like the discount store, but it's like really cute stuff. And we're looking around and I see some
Mhm.
stationery and stuff. And I was like, gosh, I need to find, there was one last thing I needed to get for I have this mastermind that's starting up and they have gift bags. And the last thing I needed to get for them was like journals and a notepad. And so I couldn't find them anywhere, but I could tell they had some, like, it looked like they had art supplies and stuff. So I walk up to the lady and I said, hey, I just wondered if you have any journals. And she goes, oh, yeah, we've got a lot. They're right over here. I walk around the corner to look. The first thing I see is this beautiful blue journal that says, find joy for the journey. And they had
Mhm.
exactly 15 of those journals, and there are 15 people in the group. And I was like, what? What are the coincidence? What That is crazy.
What are
What
the
are the
odds? Yes.
odds?
Well, so here's the thing is like there are no odds because this is a game rigged in your favor. It's a movie real time edited by God and your angels. So if you needed 16, there would be 16 there.
Yeah, I just was like, I told my daughter, I was like, go get a shopping cart. I'm getting all of these. And she goes, well, mom, how many do you need? I was counting them. One, two, and I'm like, and they're beautiful. And I was like, what are the odds of that? But yes, I do believe in um guardian angels, and thank you to mine. They usually work overtime. Thank you, angels. But yeah, it was amazing. So I love God winks like that. And yeah, the story of the monk in the airport was was pretty wild to be in this airport. And I mean, I was bent over and looked up, and he's right in front of me smiling. And he's got on the whole, it looked like it, the whole orange robe and everything. And you can imagine the look that we got when we finally were finished walking. We couldn't find anybody, and we walked to TSA, and the guy looked at us like, who what are you two doing together? Like, like we looked like an odd couple to be together.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, how amazing is that? And you never know when these people that show up in our lives are actually angels. Like that an angel has shown up in physical form,
Mhm.
because that's possible,
Oh,
right? So there've been plenty of occasions where people have been tested. Like, you're gonna either go out of your way to help this beggar, or you're not, and that was a test. You either failed or passed. Yeah.
well, you know what? Thank you for saying that, because I just made a video. Um, I'm kind of new to TikTok. I don't really know how to work TikTok very well, but I'm like, okay, well, I'll put a video up. We'll see, And the only reason I'm on TikTok is because my daughter was like, Mom, don't get on TikTok. You're too old for TikTok. And I was like, I'm definitely getting on TikTok. And so I did.
Just make sure you use the hashtag #OKBoomer.
I got to do that. Yes, I've got to do that. Um, I made a
Uh,
video, and I wrote, please help me find this man, because I feel like a guardian angel. When I had my motorcycle accident, my femoral artery was severed, and I could have bled out on the street. And people were scared to come up to me because it looked pretty gruesome. It looked bad. And there was a man, and to this day I still don't know who he is. He ran over to me and took his belt off and made a tourniquet on my leg, and he basically saved my life. And I don't know who he is. And so I just made a TikTok video, help me find the man who saved my life. And who knows, maybe someday he'll be like, that was me the day, on the street on Ventura Boulevard when you got taken out by an SUV. But wouldn't it be awesome to get to tell him thank you? I was busy screaming
well,
in
you
that
can.
moment and didn't even realize he had made a tourniquet on my leg.
Yeah, but you can. That's the beautiful thing about this. Is like there's the physical reality, and then there's the true reality. The unseen world is more real than the seen world. So you can express your gratitude to that person, or that could have been an angel, that angel's soul, by just doing like a little message through a prayer.
Hmm.
Like you can, the archangel Gabriel is really good with messages, so you can ask him to deliver the message, for example.
I love that.
Yeah. So this amazing either human or angel that showed up at exactly the right time, that wasn't a coincidence either,
Yeah.
because you weren't meant to go. It wasn't
And
your
you know
time.
what?
You were meant to not just live through this, but thrive
Mm,
through it.
thank you. It was pretty miraculous how everything happened. The When you said,
Mm,
there he was an I think he was an angel. The paramedics happened to be right down the street at the Coffee Bean. They were running
mm,
to me before they even got the call from 911, and were there that fast. So
yeah.
I I mean, how everything worked out was just, it was really miraculous. And I think the last thing I remember before they put me in induced coma was this beautiful nurse. Her name's Shaniqua. And she leaned over me, and she had this beautiful long hair, and she said, we're going to give you something to make you feel all better now. And she just comforted
Mm.
me. And I feel like she was an angel, and just gave me that peace before, I was like, didn't know if I was going to wake up or not. But as my husband
Yeah.
says, I'm here. And he says, this might sound kind of bad, but we've learned to laugh through some hard things. And he's like, oh no, you just won't die. You know what? It's just not your time. God keeps spitting you back out. Because I've actually been hit by a car 3 times. Once on my bicycle, once on
No
my
way.
motorcycle, and then last year my youngest daughter and I were on our scooters and got hit head on our scooters, taken to the hospital, both in the back of the ambulance together, and then we shared a hospital bed because it was like COVID was pretty crazy in LA at that time, so they let us share a hospital bed for a while. And so that's why my husband is like, it's not your time. God just keeps spitting you out. And I'm like, well, thank goodness, because I'm not ready to go. I want to I want to help some people while I'm here.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, I learned this from Kabbalah that a miracle isn't defined as when the impossible becomes possible. It's when the veils, the illusionary veils that don't allow us to see the light in every experience and moment are revealed.
That's beautiful.
And when those
I have to say, I am
when
so,
those veils are removed, yeah, that's when you see those blessings that were unrevealed before.
I am just, I love that you have so much knowledge about so many different things, I mean, it's just so, I could just talk to you all day because you have so much wisdom. And I'm sure that's why people just love your show so much, is because you are so knowledgeable on so many things, from self-development to spirituality to different cultures to, just all these different things. I could just listen to you talk all day.
Oh, no, that's very sweet of you. I see this as a collaboration between me and the creator. So the things that pop for me are the things I'm meant to take into my consciousness. And out of an entire lecture or something that will be an hour, and those are the few words that I see, or it's just I know, oh, that's for me. It's like picking up little gold coins on the beach, not even needing uh, the metal detector because I am the metal detector. It's just like there's one, and there's one, and there's another one. We're all meant to do this.
Hmm.
It's our birthright. It's our innate ability. And so when we just embrace that, it's not that we're like any more special than anyone else. We're all special, and we're all equally important, and we're all this incredible miracle. So, then you can keep your ego in check a bit because you realize that, hey, I wouldn't even be taking my next breath if it weren't for the
Mm,
creator. Like everything happens through him. So I'm just along for the ride. I'm letting the river carry me, but I'm also going to be an active participant in this.
hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what?
But thank you
It's
for the
so
kind.
important to, put your ego in check. And I'm reminded, a lot, like I've got to put my ego in check, um, and get out of my own way. And, and one thing that's really helped me with that is being sober. I got sober in
Mhm.
2016. And then a year ago, I started getting away from the things that were, my non negotiables. I started not praying enough, not going to recovery meetings enough. And I slipped for one day. So I lost it in certain recovery programs. You have to start over with your time. And so it was,
Mhm.
I knew that, ooh, this is not good. I have to be really honest and call my sponsor and tell her I messed up. And it was a blessing in that taught me that, I have to every morning start my day as much as I want to grab my phone and look at it. I have to start with quiet time, with prayer, with gratitude. Notice the things, notice the birds outside. I put a little bird feeder outside my window. Notice the sunrise coming up. Notice the birds outside. Go outside and pray.
By the way, just when you said that, notice the birds outside. I have a direct view of, so we have a backyard and a lake that is uh, is juxtaposed to it, and there was an ibis in flight right in my view while you were saying that. So again, one of those beautiful coincidences.
Wow. I love that. What a view. That's so nice.
Yeah, it's called Enchanted Lake. I mean, that's pretty magical.
That is
Yeah.
magical. Yeah, I actually put a bird feeder in front of my window because and it took a while. It took a while for them to find it. And I kept thinking, "Oh, I put this
Mm.
beautiful little bird feeder and they aren't coming." And sure enough, they finally found it. So I get to see these birds and it reminds me to be in the moment, to go outside and be in nature, or even if I'm inside, to look outside and notice the beauty around me. Um, but
Yeah.
more than anything, to be connected to God. Some people say
Hmm.
universe, spirit. I call my higher power God. And I feel like I honestly, I couldn't do all the things. I couldn't stay sober. I tried, believe me, I tried. I couldn't do it without a higher power.
Yeah. So what you said about you call him God reminds me of something that it's one of those little gold coins I picked up in the interview with Kim White. He said, "Don't pray to the universe or ask the universe for assistance, because that's the duality. That's light and dark. That's good and bad. You're going to get a
Mhm.
mix. Whereas if you pray to God, you ask God directly, then that's all good. It's all benevolence."
Amen. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
knew also, I knew when I moved to Texas, because I'd lived in LA for 31 years, I knew first off, I was like, I need to make sure I have a core group of people. So before I even moved here, I already had plans to go to a church out here. And the church is,
Hmm.
it's non-denominational, but it's amazing to meet people who are faith filled and the message, the pastor I love, and it's all about faith, family, fitness, finances. And it's like I leave there and I feel like I have gone to a self-development conference that's faith filled and it's free. It's amazing, and it's just I think it's really important to surround yourself with people who that you share some common things that for me anyway, that's important to be around people who are
Yeah.
love and light, who have good energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that a distinction I got that was very important, and it's a pretty recent one, is that spirituality isn't about personal development. There's some overlap for sure, but spirituality is about your desire to get closer to the Creator.
Mhm.
So it's about being close to God. It's becoming more godlike in your thoughts, words, and deeds, and with that burning desire to be close to Him. And certainly, as you're doing that, you're going to be a better person. But if you're doing spirituality as a form of personal development, you've missed the point. It's almost like a false idol.
Yeah, and my sponsor recently told me something. She's like and I think of self development as mindset. Whereas I think of spirituality is, when I get closer to God, I'm connected with my higher power. But my sponsor also
Yeah.
told me, she's like, "Did you make it to your meeting?" And I'm like, "No, but I went to church." And she said, "Don't confuse the two." I was like, "Oh, okay." So it might seem like a lot of work to do the self development and to, go to church on Sunday morning and to go to, recovery meetings. But that's what I do. So I get to have the life that I have, that I get to have the relationships that I have, that I get to have all of these blessings in my life, is because I do the work to make sure that I am staying faith filled and resilient and sober.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was um, such an important thing for you to share that, that you slept, and that, you know, that's a reminder for our listener that we all slip, and we all get back on the wagon. We all get back on the horse, because that's what you're here to do. And don't beat yourself up. Love yourself as you would your closest friend or family member, and you wouldn't say berating things to that person. So don't say it to yourself. Just get back on
Well,
that
I was
horse.
beating myself up pretty bad. Like I was not very nice. And
Yeah.
the women loved me until, I could stop. And I had to, and you know what that was? It was my ego. It was my ego saying, "Oh,
Mm,
you had 5.5 years of sobriety and you slipped for one day. And then I had to like talk to myself and say, no, at least, I had enough recovery in me and I was honest so I could get right back up. And it's not how many times you fall or mess up, it's that you get back up and you keep moving forward. And again, you look at the lesson you learned from it. Like why did I slip? It was because I wasn't taking care of myself. I think it's so important. I was really busy. I was work, 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 work. I was letting the workouts kind of slip by. I wasn't going to as many meetings. I wasn't connecting with God enough. And lo and behold, that alcoholism that lives over here was doing push ups. It's over there just doing push ups, ready to take me anytime I let my guard down. And that's the thing, that's why I talk about we have to really build our resilience before we need it. We have to really build it up. So when we're having a bad day, and if you're like me and you're sober or you want to get sober, if you're working on all of your, strengthening your resilience and your faith filled, that when you're having a bad day and you walk down the aisle at the market that has ice cold beer or a beautiful bottle of wine, you're not going to be tempted to buy it and drink it.
yeah. And I think there's an important little piece here. I think it's worth adding to this, and it's something beyond resilience. I learned about it from a book called Anti-Fragile. It's the same author who wrote the book Black Swan.
I'm taking notes while you're talking, by the way,
Uh,
Stephan.
yeah, yeah. So it's Nassim Nicholas Taleb. So anti-fragile is another level. So resilience is what I kind of picture in my mind is a tree that is wind blown, that's just solid. It's got its roots firmly planted in the ground, so it's not going anywhere. Whereas anti-fragility is where the system grows and strengthens and evolves because of the stressors. Like an immune system that isn't stressed is not a good immune system, right? So economies and human groups and just our humanness, our immune system, our ability to adapt, all that sort of stuff is anti-fragile. It thrives through the chaos. It needs the chaos. It's food for the system. And so I would maybe reflect a bit on that, like how this opportunity where you slipped is actually a new level of anti-fragility, because there's, I don't know how this quote relates, but it's come to me, so I'm going to share it, and that is, history doesn't repeat itself, but sometimes it
Wait,
rhymes.
history doesn't repeat itself, so what?
But sometimes it rhymes.
Ooh, I like that.
That's, yeah, that's Mark Twain. So when you see something that like feels little bit like, oh, that's just history repeating itself, it's not. There's an echo, or there's a reminder there, and you're in a new place, you're a new you are more anti-fragile than the previous you that went through that previous experience.
Mm. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I think that, everything that we go through, like things that I went through as a child that were difficult. I was just talking about this with my dad on the phone the other day. And, thankfully, my brother and I have a good relationship now. Not super, super close, but okay. But he used to beat the crap out of me when I was a kid. I mean, it wasn't normal.
Mm.
Wasn't like brother and sister kind of pushing around. It was, he literally like punched me in the face when I was a kid, like would pick me up and throw me
Mm.
against the wall, would hold me under the water in the swimming pool till I thought I was going to drown. I really was scared for my life. It was not normal. And I was talking to my dad and I was telling him how, if something like that happened nowadays, that kid would be like put in juvie or something. He'd be locked up, something. And I said to my dad, I said, but
Right.
it taught me to take care of myself and fight back. That's why I got into Krav Maga and I started doing kickboxing and Muay Thai. And
Mm.
I was like, I am never going to be pushed around or punched around or anything. And so I really took it on to strengthen myself, to get stronger. And it's one of the reasons I think that it also really pushed me more into athleticism. And so every situation, we have that choice to be the victor of our life.
Yeah. Wow. Well, a couple of things about that. So certainly that was a gift. And as my wife Orion says, sometimes the bow's on the bottom, but that was a gift, and it did give you that resiliency and that strength to face to have that preemptive resilience. To go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, because you're gonna be thrown some curveballs later on in your life, and um, so a couple things about this. One is we have soul contracts with the people that are in our lives, that we agreed upon, and they agreed as well prior to us incarnating. So our life partner, our parents, siblings, of course, as well, right? Our kids. We all agreed to do this thing together. And so your brother agreeing to be this um, nemesis in your childhood was ultimately for your highest and best good, and he agreed to do that, and you agreed to be the recipient of that. That's what um, soul contracts are
Hmm.
about. And I didn't know about this until just recent times, until my the more recent spiritual awakening I had in January of 2021. So uh, I would encourage you to look this up, soul contracts, to give you some more sense of perspective around it. Not that you need it, but it I think it'll be
That's
helpful.
interesting. Yeah.
Um, there's also an episode where I interviewed the first really good article I found on soul contracts was on my spiritual shenanigans .blog, and Vasundhara Gupta was the author of that article, and I had
That's
her on the
cool. I like
podcast, and
that.
that was a really great episode.
My
Yeah, so you might want
spiritual
to listen to that
shenanigans.
episode. .blog. That's where the article is. Yeah, and there's the episode as well, Vasundhara Gupta. So that's the first thing, and the second thing is I read this in a book about reincarnation, and what happens is that, let's say it's these warring factions, and the two leaders of those warring factions, well, of course, they need to make peace. And so in their next incarnation, what happens? They're brothers, right? And they have to work things out over cornflakes in the morning.
Wow. That is so interesting to look at it in that way.
Mm,
Yeah. I
yeah.
have taken notes. You should see. I have a envelope here and I've been taking notes of a TED talk to write to remind, and also to remind me to read The Alchemist and Stephen Spencer,
And anti-fragile. I would,
Anti-Fragile. I wrote that down
yeah, I would
too.
add anti-fragile.
I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And I need to put a big star by Find Joy for the Journey because you got goosebumps when I said that.
Yes,
Angel
the angel
bumps.
bumps.
Angel bumps.
Yeah, awesome. Well, this was really uplifting and inspiring. You're an inspiring, beautiful soul, and yeah, I just I think it's amazing what you're up to in
Mm.
the world, and that you have really taken the reins to your life and to have that ripple effect. You mentioned earlier the ripple effect, right? So it
Oh,
is huge. It is huger than you could possibly imagine. It spans universes.
oh, you are so sweet. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. I just adore you and your wife. And I hope I get to meet y'all in person sometime. Where do y'all live?
we're in Miami.
Oh my gosh, I am going to see you because my husband's
Okay,
family
amazing.
they're in Miami. And I was just telling him, when are we going to go to Miami? We haven't been in 2 years. We usually go like at least once a year. So when we go, I'm going to be reaching out to y'all. I would love to get together in person with you.
That would be
You're
amazing. We would love that.
amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me on on your show. I mean, I could just see why people love you and your show. And I'm just so grateful to get to be here with you and have this time. Thank you for this amazing conversation and for all the notes that I have. I got a lot of reading to do and a TED talk to watch.
Well, you could listen to the audiobook of The Alchemist. That's what I did. And it was on my reading list for at least a decade. And it wasn't until it was a book on our I'm in a book club, and it was on our list, and it was the next book. And it's like, all right, now I'm going to listen to it. And the audiobook is amazing too. So if you want to do that while you're out in nature or whatever, listen to Jeremy Irons narrating. It's
Okay, I
it's
may do
fabulous.
that. One of the several reasons why I love doing my podcast is it really forces me to read because if I'm having a guest on, I read their book and I love Audible. I mean, I didn't like recording my book. That was a lot to record an Audible book. I'm like, how hard can it be? You're in a booth for hours at a time. I would burst out of that booth and go do push ups and be like, I just got to breathe. And then run back in the booth, like, okay, I can do this. But I love listening to books, and it has been a lifesaver when I'm interviewing people because I do it on listen on double speed sometimes. Do you ever do that?
Yep. Yep, I'll do that too sometimes. Yeah, it does take away from the magic of it. So I didn't do that with The Alchemist, but if I'm just trying to absorb information, yeah, I'll put it at usually 1.5 to one
Yeah.
and three quarter speed. Two
Yeah,
x
it
is just too
depends
much for
on
me.
the
Yeah.
narrator. Sometimes I've done books and you need to speed. Other
Yeah.
times I'm listening to
Yeah. Yeah.
books and
That's true.
I'm like, oh, I got to go back. I got to listen to it even slower. You know what I mean? To really absorb it. Um, do you know who Robin Sharma is?
I've heard the name, but I do not know.
Oh my gosh. I love this man. Okay. I was at a conference. Actually, I was speaking at a conference. It was me, Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes, Ed Milet. There was a lot of amazing speakers. I just got really blessed to be able to be there. It was one of my first big talks. And my book signing table was set up right next to Robin Sharma's table. And I'd never heard of him. He was so nice. He's like, let's exchange books. We exchange books. Well, he came out with a new book called The Everyday Hero
Mm-hmm.
Manifesto. It was one of the best books. So after I read that book, and I read it and I had it on Audible too, I messaged him and I was like, oh my goodness, I loved your book. He's like, oh, thank you so much. Let me send you an autographed one of this. He sent me an autographed copy all the way from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Oh my gosh." So that's a good one to read.
Okay.
If you've got
Well, I've heard of
yeah,
his book, the
just
Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. That one's pretty famous. Yeah.
I think that was his first
Yeah, I
one.
think so too. Yeah.
I think it was his first one. Yeah, he's got like 3,
Yeah. And then there's
I
one called
think, or
Who Will
4 maybe.
Cry When You Die? Wow. What a
Oh,
title.
I haven't read that one. I haven't read that one. Yeah. So many books, so many good books.
Yeah.
I like it's heaven to me to listen to books or amazing podcasts like yours. I could just do that all day.
Yeah, it's a lot though. So rather than feel overwhelmed with it, just know that you're being guided and you're going to get just the right information at just the right time. So it's like, all right, there's 700 hours of Stephan's podcast you could listen to, literally 700 hours between my two shows. So just know that you're being guided to
That's
the right one.
amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot. Well, this was amazing. You're amazing, and also thank you for the mention here towards the end of Robin Sharma and his book, The Everyday Hero Manifesto. All this will go into the show notes for this episode. And wow, what gold nuggets we have for our listener, our viewer today. That's amazing.
Oh,
So thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you. And I hope to see y'all soon. Please say hello to your lovely wife. And I hope I get to meet your 2-year-old as
Oh, that
well.
would be amazing. And your website and your socials, where should we send our listener to follow you and learn from you and get inspired by you even more?
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, you can check out my book is called True Grit and Grace, and my podcast is called True Grit and Grace. My mastermind is Your Unstoppable Life Mastermind. It's for women to really build their impact, influence, and have that ripple effect and really share their message. And you can find all of that at amberlylago.com, or you can always go to truegritandgrace.com as well. But Amberly Lago Motivation is where you see all the behind the scenes shenanigans.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you so much, Amberly, and have a blessed rest of your week. And listener, get out there and reveal some light in the world. We'll catch you in the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.